Yeah, that would be a cause for concern. All right, let's hit this button. Bum bum ba bum ba bum. This event can't be featured because it's private. It's a private event, y'all.
Hell yeah, that makes it sound dirty and exclusive.
Hell yeah, dude. All right. let me uh let me get this dumb bit ready. If I can find the right chord. This dumb joke that you want to implicit on me, Tony. That's not the right word at all. Jesus. Da-da. Be calmed. Hurdy-gurdy instrument soundtrack.
It's the best fucking shanty in the whole game, dude.
Hurdy-gurdy?
It's the one of the instruments.
Which one's the hurdy-gurdy?
It's the one that you crank.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a real instrument.
Yeah, I figured it was real. I've just never heard its name before. Does the beat drop at any point and it gets like crazy?
Absolutely not.
It's just chill the whole way?
Yeah, and it's great.
Thanks for sharing, Tony. Hello, and welcome to the Irrational Passions 2018 Game of the Year Deliberations, Day 5, the last day. The day we all died. The day the Earth stood still. I'm Alex O'Neill. Joining me, again, as always, Scott Cuthier.
Hey.
Tony Horvath.
Hey.
Brian Nabashin Jackson.
Hi.
There it is. There's the triple hey that we've all been waiting for. We're back. This is the last day. We're gonna go through some categories. We're gonna pick one winner and two runners up. We're gonna listen to more hurdy-gurdy later on. That's absolutely in the show. I've decided. Late contender for best song according to Tony Horvath. How are you guys feeling? I just want to do a little check-in. We're at the end here. Just before the end. Nabshin, feeling good?
Sure.
I'm so convinced, Tony. Are you all right?
I'm great.
Scott, how are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Well, let's see if we can ruin all those good feelings and get into some real fights. Best new game, best visuals, most disappointing, hating ass hater award, and game of the year in top 10 format, which we will get to. For the video version of this, I've tried to include the Google Doc. It might be a little choppy, and I apologize. But let's take a look. Let's see, and hope for the best. Best new game. What does this mean, Nabashin?
A favorite new IP, intellectual property for a game that came out. Hence why we have some things that are like, oh, there have been sequels of like stuff from Dragon Ball and Spider-Man before, but like, it's a whole new property of that. So like, it wouldn't necessarily be a sequel. So like, it was just the best debut of a new thing.
I want to ask this because it always becomes like a contention in our conversations. Does sequel potential have any weight in this category?
I would say yes and no, because I think some things should stand on their own and like you can judge it for their own. But like if if like it does like a sequel bait type of thing, I think it can somewhat be a detriment, more or less. It all depends on like how good they do it or how badly they do it, I would say.
Okay. Right now in this category.
It's less about this being a standalone and more about this being a new thing.
Yeah, okay. Right now in the category we have Dragon Ball FighterZ, Celeste, Detroit Become Human, Into the Breach, The Messenger, Marvel's Spider-Man, Wizard of Legend, Florence, A Way Out, Grease, Sea of Thieves, Dead Cells, and Moonlighter. Is there anything missing from this category? I don't think so either. I just want to make
Nope, nothing missing. Everything is here. Everyone is.
Everyone is here.
Slave Siege or whatever that game was called.
Siege? Rainbow Six Siege?
No, Slave Siege? Slave Siege?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of this.
Tony's third favorite game of the year.
Oh.
What?
Oh, the card game?
Slay the Spire? That's fourth.
There you go. It was did that get bumped because of Sea of Thieves, or was that originally fourth?
Yeah, it got bumped because of Sea of Thieves.
So
Notion was half
technically not
correct.
wrong.
He was neither wrong nor right.
Okay. In the limbo. We've talked about a lot of these games already, which is cool. We have not talked about like A Way Out or Dragon Ball FighterZ that much. We've talked about Dragon Ball FighterZ a little bit with your game assumption, but
yeah.
I mean, I believe I'm the only one here that finished A Way Out.
I've seen the entirety of Way Out.
Yeah, you can watch the entirety of A Way Out on youtube.com/Irrational Passions. Watch Mike Burgess and Logan Wilkinson play it, and then just enjoy the ending of that series because it is as good as you want it to be. If you've not watched that option, Mike did a little bit of video editing magic at the end there, and you should. But boy, howdy, I do not feel strongly about it being on this list, so we can take A Way Out right on out of here. I wonder, Tony, I feel like you and Scott should play A Way Out just because I want to know how that's gonna go. It's like couch co-op game where you kind of it's split screen even if you're online. It's very weird. It's a cool idea, but I would say like obviously like Dead Cells is a big standout here.
Even though I said like Dragon Ball and Spider-Man are like games that like don't can qualify for this list, I don't think they hang particularly.
Yeah, I think like Dragon Ball being the exception, more Spider-Man. Spider-Man is hurt from very much being like we're setting up for something bigger, but also like this is very clearly the first game of the franchise, and all these mechanics are going to get kind of refined and improved as time goes on, and hopefully the cutscenes don't bug out in the future. So yeah, I get that. Dragon Ball is the only one that I would say like, hey, if you felt really strong about it, we can put it.
I do feel strongly about it, but like, I think there's other ones that
there's a lot of new, really, really new stuff this year.
Yeah, better representation. Matter of fact, I should put the missing one here.
Yeah, the missing would be a great addition. So you know what? Fuck it. Let's just put Deadly Premonition on here. It wins. Weird. Man, I've not got to talk about Grease at all. Grease is like super good, you guys. It's phenomenal. Have you played it yet, Namishin?
I played maybe about 2 hours of it.
What do you think so far?
I think it's a very visually pleasing game. I just feel like as far as like because everything is fine. Everything's fine with that game. As far as like what you're doing, everything like that. It's just a matter of just like the motivation, I guess you could say, is just not there for me to keep playing.
Okay.
Like I don't really know the end goal for it. Like I guess you could say it's like Journey. It's like you just keep going until you get to what you want. But like at least Journey had like the mountain that you knew you were going to. I don't know exactly what I'm doing as far as Grease is unlocking colors. So I don't know.
It's the thing, like that's like the whole thing. I would say like once you kind of figure that out, like I think that's when the kind of message of Grease hits you. And that's like the moment that you're building towards. Sometimes that's easy, sometimes that's hard, but I think either way it's worth it. If you ever decide to go back to it. It's not much longer than the time you've put into it, I'll say that much at least. But yeah, there is like kind of I don't want to say like a late game twist. It's not like a big reveal or anything. Like they do certainly lay out the breadcrumbs, but like once all the pieces kind of fit together in that game, boy howdy. I was a mess. Surprising no one. I don't know, like best new, like my favorite new game. I would say like I like The Messenger a lot. I might choose it. I might choose Grease. I might choose Moonlighter. Right, like I like all those games kind of equally. I think Dead Cells and Into the Breach like have a lot of weight here. I think they're both really cool ideas. They're both like really fresh takes on old concepts. And they're both like from like really good developers, so I definitely think both of them would be here. Is there anything you feel really strongly about Nabashin?
Honestly, not in particular, because though I did just add the missing. Like that's not something I feel passionate enough to say. Like, hey, this is a new game. Um, Especially since like it's not the most optimized game.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can totally see that go. And Detroit is not something I can like recommend to everybody either. So like I don't think that game stays as well.
Mm-hmm. I would, you know what? I would put up Moonlighter as my nominee. I would say like that is.
I'm a challenge that to go up against Wizard of Legend.
I would say like Moonlighter. I've not played Wizard Legends, but like Moonlighter is a similar game in that it's like a loop based game, right? Kind of starting and repeating. What I like about Moonlighter is it's not a roguelike. Like it uses tropes from a roguelike, but it isn't one. I think that's really novel. I think like the fact that it has like the shopkeeper sim part of it, it's like so fleshed out, so well done, where you're kind of putting up items and setting the price and like changing the price of the items that you're selling based on supply and demand, but also like based on whether or not customers are happy with that price or think they're getting a steal for that price, things like that. I think there's just a lot to Moonlighter that is so fresh and so new that I just really like a lot. What would you say about Wizard of Legend, Scott?
Let's see. It's probably one of the best feeling games that I've played in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that the general speed of the and how the game reacts to you is generally, I think the word I'm looking for is consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I'm tired.
I see what you're saying though, Scott. Like
right. So this would have taken Game of the Year for me if they didn't exactly lack early on spell diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I haven't unlocked all the spells yet. I'm still going through it, and it's definitely not easy to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of more fun to play with more wonky builds, but most of the spells in the game is one element's version of a different spell. And it doesn't seem like that at first, but when you get into how it helps you, that is definitely the case.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny too because I think like Moonlighter has some of the same some of the same issues of like a lot of the weapons are pretty similar to each other. I would give you a Wizard Legend on this one. Like you've been talking about it enough here. Like I think what you're saying about like how that game feels like definitely carries a lot of weight. Like getting that down is really hard, and the fact that they did is really impressive.
Yeah, the other thing was not being able to quit in the middle of a run.
Yeah, that does kind of suck. Nice thing about Switch, where you can just kind of put the Switch to sleep and come back to it.
That's true.
Yeah, I'd give it to you on Wizard Legend. I think.
I assumed that I was wrong. I actually feel bad about being this wrong. That online was
online
going to be a thing.
Co-op, yeah.
Wizard Legend because multiplayer was a thing but no, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like that's definitely an opportunity for them if they make another Wizard of Legend. I think that'd be really cool too. Yeah, I think Into the Breach, Wizard of Legend, and Dead Cells is a great trio. It's a lot of two very fast-paced games and then one kind of very methodical game. I like that. But once again, here we are. Into the Breach versus Dead Cells, the favorite conversation that I love to relive over and over again. I don't know if I could be more sarcastic when I say this, but what wins? What if Wizard of Legend just wins? Neither.
As much as I'd like to be okay with that,
neither of you are happy.
I just went over. I just went over why Into the Breach kind of trumps it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for as well as the game plays, much in my opinion, but it's not exactly a fair comparison, but it plays better than Into the Breach.
Mm-hmm.
Its repeatability in its spell diversity is lacking. So going in with different builds doesn't feel as different as going into the game with different builds as with Into the Breach.
Mm-hmm.
When you take a different team, everything changes about the way you play.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah, it's true.
As the biggest two that I can give an example of, which isn't even the starkest of differences, is when you take the normal team, it is mostly about smacking enemies into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go ahead and you pick up the airdrop team, the smoke bomb team, this is mostly about getting enemies to hit each other.
Yeah.
It is stopping their attacks and getting them to hit each other.
Yeah, and
So,
it challenges you a very different way too.
Right. And it's you can't push the enemies into you can't exactly push the enemies the way you would before. So getting them to move into each other is much more difficult because naturally they like to try and spread out.
Yeah.
So the combo attacks to do that generally become much more limited.
Yeah, I gotcha. I have no horse in this race.
You kind of do.
I mean, like, I do and I don't. Like, I feel good about all these games, especially like hearing the two of you guys talk about all of them. So, I've played Into the Breach. I've played a very, very little bit of Wizard of Legend, and I've played Dead Cells. But like, I'm not necessarily invested in any of the three. I would say like Wizard of Legend would highlight that game, and all three of these games in a cool way, where that Wizard of Legend is probably not going to win anything else.
Well, what about in the concept of like, oh, it's a good proof of concept, and like when they make a sequel from what the base that they built off of for Wizard of Legends, that I think the foundation is there.
I think that certainly helps that game more than the other two. Like, I think Dead Cells is like such a flushed out concept. I think Into the Breach is also such a flushed out concept, which speaks to the developer that made those two games. Where
that's kind of there, but it's only there because the premise is kind of weak.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's honestly, you could make a sequel to Wizard of Legend that does anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits.
But like something that took that good feel and like expanded on it in every regard, I think would be really cool.
I mean, a similar thing I know could be said for Into the Breach.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the tactical mechanics of it, there's quite a few things that are a little more, I want to say, I guess, not explored.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there was I think it's the artillery. No, not the artillery. It is the tank that gets a grappling hook, right? But most other classes can get similar upgrades that kind of move enemies around. But generally, this movement is very linear in how it moves, or it's one space to the right, forward, or back. And they also do not allow enemies to really push you as well. Minor things like that can be expanded on.
Mm-hmm.
And still very much be Into the Breach.
So Tony, how do you feel?
I'll give it to him.
Into the Breach?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Like, look at that. We're all better when we compromise. Just means we're gonna have to fight harder later. I like I said, I think all three of these games are cool. I think it speaks to you, Scott, that you bring such interesting games to the podcast that are different and cool. Best new game, Into the Breach. Runners up, Dead Cells, Wizard or Legend. Best visuals, my least favorite category. Most impressive game from graphics or art style. I just got to check myself out here. Dragon Ball Fighters.
I'm also gonna check Ni no Kuni Revenant Kingdom out. Not because I think the game is generally bad, but it's also because from the other Ni no Kuni games, it hasn't really improved much. To me, it looks a little dated.
I think it looks good, but I can see that. We haven't even gone through the nominees. We're already cutting stuff. I love it.
You see, I am tired. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're all tired.
I'm a bit out of it.
We're in day 5 of Game of the Year deliberations. This is how it always goes. Dragon Ball Fighters, Celeste, Monster Hunter World, Sea of Thieves, Far Cry 5, God of War, Ni no Kuni 2, Detroit, Become Human, Sushi Striker, Way of the Sushido, or Way of Sushido, Octopath Traveler, Marvel's Spider-Man, Dragon Quest XI, Super Mario Party, Tetris Effect, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Florence, and Greece. Right off the bat here, Nabashin, I want to talk to you about Far Cry 5.
Mm-hmm.
How does Far Cry 5 actually look? Because I've never seen that game in motion.
It looks really, really good. As far as like realistic graphics, it's probably one of the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
If going for realism, I'm curious, like, because you're the only one that have played all of them. Between Detroit, Far Cry, and God of War, what do you think's king?
Would you consider God of War realism?
I think it is stylistic realism for sure. I think like to most of an extent, Kratos and Atreus look like people, right? Like, I think they have very humanistic characteristics. So, I think God of War gets a lot of benefits from its really great art design, though. Like the worlds in God of War certainly look a lot better than most other things, I would say.
That's
would
probably
you say that even though they are obviously
fantastical,
fantasy oriented,
mm-hmm.
they're made of objects that would look real?
Yes, I would say like there's like this kind of groundedness to how those worlds are built, but also like a fantastical nature to them. Like Alfheim in particular, like kind of the elven kingdom that you go to in God of War, is gorgeous. Like it just looks crazy. There's like plant life that you've never seen before, colors that you've never seen before, on top of like this architecture that's very kind of realistic in its concepts, but very different and new in how it's actually executed on.
Actually, the winner of the most for games that look like realism is
Red Dead
Redemption 2.
Red Dead Redemption.
I was about to say something. I was like, hold on a second.
It's like,
how did
we not have that on here? And not Red Dead 2.
Far Cry 5 get on here.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is not on here.
Yeah. Red Dead 2 looks fucking crazy. Honest to God, like, man, that's like the first time I've looked at a video game and thought it was next gen. Like next, not like Xbox One or PS4. I thought it was like past that. Yeah, that game looks buck wild. I actually like my best friend Damien has been playing on a regular PS4, and he booted up to show me. He's like, "Do you think it looks good?" Because he told me about like how it looks on other stuff. I was still very impressed at how good it looked. Obviously, it didn't look quite as sharp, but like the character models and everything still looked very good.
For sure.
Yeah, Red Dead is like the king of realism.
Yeah, if we're taking that to factor, then I would take out Spider-Man, Far Cry, and God of War.
Yeah,
if we're considering that.
Well, it all depends on what it's going for.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those games go for realism, and
I would say God of War is the only one of those that maybe could still hang, but I don't necessarily care for its style that much. I I like some of the art in that game. I like the colors in that game a lot, but that's not going to necessarily hold it up over anything else. So yeah, we could take this off.
We already agreed to take off Nina Cooney.
Yep.
No, it was a bit premature.
It's all right, Scott. I forgive you. Now, if we're talking about stylized graphics, I think like obviously Dragon Ball FighterZ looks incredible.
That's at least 1 to 3 in my eyes.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like the look of Smash Brothers. I think Ultimate looks really great. I don't think it's necessarily a contender, but I just want to say that like, hey, I like how Smash looks. Sea of Thieves obviously looks dope as shit.
I think that's the best thing the game has going for it is how amazing it looks.
Yeah, especially like the water.
Yeah, all that
I would
stuff.
say only the water.
I like the.
I think that it goes for a style.
I forget. It does.
Yeah.
Well, no. Okay. Sorry. It's for its overall style. It's okay.
I like. Sea
I'm
of
not
Thieves.
too high on it, but I can give it to the water.
Yeah, I like Sea of Thieves overall style. I'm with you, Tony. Like I think like when we talked about it, like it's very jolly, right? It's just very happy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bright colors.
The character models look great. Like I just like you would think you would do more of them.
Mm-hmm.
To like enhance your own individual style type of thing.
I would say Celeste, I like the style of. It is not necessarily. It is almost exactly Towerfall's visual style is the thing. Like, and that really hurts it for me personally. So I would definitely take that off. I think Super Mario Party looks cool. I just want to kind of touch on some stuff here. Like, I think.
Dude, did you fry that? What's it? The steak cube?
Yeah, that steak cube.
I bet Tetris Effect has nice effects.
It does. I would say like, as much as
it's
I
hella
love
blocky though.
Yeah, there's a lot of Tetraminos. As much as I love Tetris Effects art style, like I would, I'm okay with like kind of booning other games here than Tetris Effect because I know a lot of people would discredit its style as being a little bit more something we've seen before. Not that I would necessarily agree. A
good portion of it, but not what makes Tetris Effect different than other Tetris games.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, there's other stuff in this list that I feel a little more strongly about. The one that I would want to kind of put my oomph behind is Greece.
I guess you're gonna have to look at it now.
I'm a big fan of Greece. Greece's art style. I don't know how you're gonna feel about it, Scott, but
be sure to look at it in motion, Scott. It looks look good at a screenshot.
Yeah, it looks like a painting if you looked at it in screenshot. I also really like how Monster Hunter World looks. I think
the game looks real good.
I think that game looks really good. Dragon Quest XI looks good too.
It looks good. I like the way it looks a lot, but like it's not going to hang on this list.
Yeah, I just want to give a reason to show it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me. I'm going to take some stuff off here. Dragon Quest, Mario Party, Tetris, and Smash Brothers. Sushi Striker.
It looks like an anime. It's fine. Don't worry about
it. Don't ever think about it.
It looks like an anime, therefore it wins.
Therefore it loses.
Therefore it's gone. Octopath Traveler. Does anyone feel strongly about it?
I think it looks incredible, but I have something I would rather fight more.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. I really like the art style of Octopath, but I just kind of have another thing. Florence Nabishin.
I really like the look of Florence a lot, but again, I have something else I would rather have.
Yeah.
But like, I just love the art style in that game.
I think it's very cool. I think it is
very simplistic, but like very like
it's effective.
Yes, exactly.
Dragon Ball FighterZ, Sea of Thieves, God of War, Greece, and Red Dead 2 are now our 5 here. Honestly, I don't think any of us are going to fight for God of War. So I'm just going to take that off. Sorry, Logan, wherever you are. Sorry, everyone, because again, there's so many people out there that like God of War, and none of them are here.
If this category were solely based off realism, then it would be.
It would still
God
be
of
Red
War,
Dead.
Far Cry 5. It would still, again, it would still be Red Dead.
Yeah.
But oh shit! While I was trying to look at other games, you guys went and got rid of them all. God damn it!
We did. We talked about them. You were just looking at
Good.
games. Personally, so right now it's Dragon Ball, Sea of Thieves, Grease, and Red Dead. Personally, I would really love to see Grease on this list. I know, like, right now, Sea of Thieves is kind of the only one it's up against.
Okay. With the ones that we have said, Over My Dead Body doesn't get on this list over one of the Sea of Thieves or Dragon Ball Fighters.
You didn't like it that much?
I think I said that backwards.
Uh-huh. Go. You want to try it? You want to give it another shot?
If we're going for style, then the other two don't hold a candle.
Okay. I think
If we're taking that angle, then that is.
I think it's both, right? We're trying to.
Then it wins.
We don't have a best visuals, technical and a best visuals stylistically. We just have the one, so we're kind of trying to bridge the gap. And Red Dead is technical. Sea of Thieves in a lot of ways is technical, but it's definitely more stylish. Dragon Ball and Grease, obviously very stylish type thing. I know, Nabashin, that you feel really good about Dragon Ball, and I too feel very good about Dragon Ball. Tony, I know you feel very good about Sea of Thieves. I too feel good about Sea of Thieves. I would just personally like to see Grease on this list over either of those two games. I think Red Dead wins this category personally, but because I really like how that game looks, and I think it's a standout. But I love Grease's art style. I just think it is so unique and so beautiful. The cool thing, not to like, this is just a cool aspect that I know about it, of like that game is done by, I think, like 2 artists. Like the whole game is drawn by 2 artists. It might be 1, it might be 2. And essentially the game started as like an art project, and they sought out game developers, and they were like, hey, we want to make a video game with our art. Let's work together. So it's a very collaborative piece that like is very much built off of the visual art in it, and it shows. I think it's just breathtaking to look at.
Do we think Sea of Thieves actually hangs on this list?
What do you think, Tony?
I think that most of what the game has going for it is that it looks rad.
Yeah.
There's some cool shit to do, but like if the game didn't look and feel great, you wouldn't want to sail around for a while to get to where you're going and then dig up a treasure chest.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the visuals of sailing around, and like when the tides roll in, if a storm starts and the giant fucking megalodon comes and starts attacking your ship, or if you get attacked by a kraken, all of that feels it feels immersive and it pulls you in. And I think without the visual of all that, and obviously the sea looks amazing. I think that it's got some of the best water in video games.
Mm-hmm.
It has the best water in video games.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Without that, I think the game falls much more flat than than even it did at launch, which now a lot of that's been fixed. I think it's carried a lot by its visuals, and that's it says a lot about the game.
Mm-hmm.
What if we have just Grease, CSDs, and Dragon Ball?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, what if we just cut Red Dead?
I mean, what is Red Dead? Another cowboy game?
Another cowboy game. Like there's a fucking shit ton of them or something.
Yeah, dude. There's one more.
There's 3 of them. Well, actually, there's 4 if you include the game Gun.
Yeah, I like that name.
Shout out to the video game just named Gun.
No, I have to say Dragon Ball Fighters Z is probably the weakest on here.
I like Dragon Ball.
I like Dragon
It
Ball
looks
too.
like Dragon Ball. Hella Dragon Ball.
I know.
Right.
I know that might be a turnoff for you, Scott.
Right.
I get it.
So, like, its specialness and its visuals is that they take the 2D art style and keep almost all the fighting in 2D, but they orient the world in 3D.
Isn't it more like the I guess the fighting is in 3D. I mean, like the visuals are 3D. They just look 2D, and like it's that Arc System Works magic that they pulled with Guilty Gear.
Pretty sure
it is, as Alex said.
I want Nabashin, I want you to say what you need to say here. Say what you need to say.
I think Dragon Ball should be totally on this list. I think Dragon Ball is like one of the best looking games this year, for multiple reasons. It's not just like the fact that like, oh, it looks like an anime and like that's cool. It's not just a cool thing, it's an incredible thing. And it's an incredible thing because like the game is 60 frames per second. Like it's a 60 frames per second game, but like the characters themselves, I think they're like maybe like 20 or 15, so like they can actually match the show and like do the signature moves from the show. And like even like with lighting and stuff like that, like when drove key blast and like how it like reflects on the characters and stuff like that, and like the animation and like the just the overall look at what they're trying to go for is like second to none. It's like you say like, oh, just Guilty Gear just did the same thing and they're just doing it again, but like you can tell like the extra amount of like detail and like extra more work that they put into this game in particular just to get that look completely right. Because like think about like all the other Dragon Ball games that we had before, like something like Budokai or something like that, where it's like it yeah, it looks like Goku, but like it doesn't look right. Even Jump Force that's about to come out, like sure, it looks okay, but like it's not Dragon Ball Fighters. So, I think the look for that game is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. I think like it is easier said than done actually making an anime in a video game, and they like went above and beyond, especially like with all like the Easter egg stuff of like, hey, we're gonna just do this shit from the show, like, and have it look exactly like this, or like from the manga and things like that. I think that's really impressive. I think there's just so much love put into the visuals of that game that I totally understand. I would say like maybe I'm alone in this, but I really do like the visuals of Red Dead 2. Like I really do. I do think like,
oh, I love them, but like I have my thing I'm fighting for. So
I think like what Rockstar did is an achievement. I think what Greece does is also an achievement, but I'd be willing to let it go to kind of highlight these 3 very, very unique other achievements as well. Because like I think what's cool is like all these visuals are like so distinct too. Like obviously Red Dead is very realistic. Dragon Ball is very Dragon Ball. Sea of Thieves is like its own totally unique thing, and so is Greece. So like I don't think there's any losers here. But I'd be willing to
except for one that gets cut.
I'd be willing to
that one lost.
Yeah, so except for Greece. Greece is the only loser here, so I guess we'll just take it off the fucking list.
Yeah.
We're all losers. Whoever wins, we lose. Game of the year. What wins?
I mean, my pick is Dragon Ball Fighters, but if people want Red Dead, that's fine with me too.
I mean, it should be Red Dead.
I think it should be Red Dead. I think like I don't want to say it should be Red Dead. I would like it to be Red Dead. I think Red Dead looks really, really good.
I'm accepting of that.
All right. I'm hearing no complaints from the Peanut Gallery. They've allowed me to move forward. I think like that game looks buck wild. Most disappointing game. Not necessarily something terrible, but expectations were not met for what we wanted out of it. Sea of Thieves. Far Cry 5. Bless Online. Boy howdy, huh? Ni no Kuni 2. Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2.
We should take a Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I think there's just those bottom 3 I think are very strong contenders here.
And Far Cry 3. Far Cry 5 is a disappointment.
Well, Freudian slip there, huh, buddy?
yeah. Far Cry 5 is a disappointment and a half, but like it's so disappointing. I don't even want to acknowledge it. Pretty much.
Tony, I want you to revisit these feelings. I want you to just bubble them again to the surface. Tell me about Bless Online.
Game sucks. What about it?
You were
But
so
here's
in.
the thing: it's
Yeah, I
why
was
did you
sold on the
expect it to
concept.
be good?
Well, why? Because if you don't have suspend your disbelief and assume that something's going to be good, why would you ever consume any video game in today's day and age where everything is on a day one patch?
I want to believe in the Bless Online that you believed in. What do you know what the state of that game is now? Have they made
Trash. Like 200 people play.
it? Jeez, dude. It was who makes that game?
Somebody
I don't
who
know.
did the same thing. I want to say 3 times before that.
Yeah. It's like a Korean MMO developer, right?
I think so.
I'll have to look into it.
I know it failed in every region other than North America, and then it failed in North. So
Yeah, dude.
pretty rough.
Like-
Okay, it was twice. There we go. This was the second time, but it failed in every region, but not once, but more than once.
Yeah.
This
You-
was the second. It never came here because it failed too hard.
You were telling me what was it
The
like
first
about
time.
like the collector's edition of that game or something, and then you had to get a refund system,
Yeah, so
right?
I bought it. Yeah, I bought the collector's edition, and then I immediately refunded it like 2 days.
Yeah.
Steam was like, it doesn't even matter because like you couldn't even log in. Obviously, MMOs. So I had like 20 hours of gameplay because the game had been running or whatever. Steam didn't care. Like they were refunding anybody who asked for a refund on that game, no questions asked, and like reversing the Steam wallet money to like in your actual wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like they're obviously just like, yeah, okay, obviously this is, let's just obviously take care of all the people who got fucked by it.
Yeah. Man. Obviously, Ni no Kuni 2 is a disappointment.
I'd say probably one of the biggest because how high were your expectations for Bless Online and Mega Man X Legacy Collection?
That's actually a good question for you now, Shay. I don't know where you're at with it.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to the yours Nabashin, and if your expectations were high for Bless, I don't have anything good to say about you. And don't get me wrong, I don't blame you for trying. Because it's an MMO. What happened in Bless day one, like at the very least, week one is standard.
Mm-hmm.
But it had a history of complete failure, like a long history.
The Mega Man X2 Legacy, or Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2. That's mostly just nostalgia because, like, you know, there's old games put into this new thing. And I had fond memories of X5 and X6 when I was younger. You know, like getting pretty much to the end of the last boss fight at X6 could be the final bosses type of thing. It's like, oh, I did everything in this game is great. And like coming back to X6 again, specifically X6, you know, I already knew 7 and 8 were just like not good, or at least 7. I know 7 is trash. I haven't even tried 8 yet. But like X6, playing that game again, like years later, and like actually knowing about like stuff like level design and shit like that, like is one of the worst. Is literally one of the worst things I've ever played, and it's like it's insane. It's insane, and I beat the game like because I had to, because I felt like I had to, because like because I got to a certain point before I was young, and I'd be damned if I can't get to that point again. And I actually beat the game this time, but like it's like that game is made to just piss you off, and like it's so many different ways. It's like you have to get like certain armor sets at a certain time or for a certain place at the end boss stage, when like it's situations where it's like they just a big jumping gap that you have to get to, like from one side to another. You have to like do like a dash jump to get to it, and you physically cannot do that without having like a certain armor set or like certain pieces onto it. And if you don't have those things, you have to like actually like not really restart the game, but like restart the beginning of that level where it was like nothing but like enemies just placed like lazily just everywhere, spikes, traps everywhere, and like it's insane. Like it's so unfair that like it just didn't even make sense. Like how could you make a game like this after such a great legacy of like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and somewhat even 5. 5 has this disappointment parts as well of its RNG bullshit in that game, but like X6 is just like it became like something that was like I remembered fondly to be like one of the worst games I've ever played. But I don't think it wins that one in particular. I'm just saying, just
You gotta get it out.
how I feel about it.
It's I want to say it's in a much better spot than Bless.
Yeah. Do you want
simply because it's walking in the expectations, saying expectations for Bless was high is not fair.
I think like they were normal expectations, and Bless was so bad that it was that much beneath them. That's kind of like what I took from the Bless Online experience. I do want to say though, that game has a giant booth at every PAX I've been to this past year.
What, Bless?
Bless Online, yeah.
That's insane.
It's crazy, dude.
Like that's what they do. They market the game up very much so, and they build a portion of the game that can fit the market, but then they never finish it.
It's like the shit that World of Tanks has been pulling, and they've been running away with it though. But I guess that game's like half decent. Bless Online does not seem to be.
Bless Online is basic. It's basically a starting area.
They're like
that has nothing else in it.
They're like 1,000 total players of Bless Online.
Nice, dude.
They're a giant MMO.
We don't necessarily need to keep them here, but I have two late game contenders here that I want to propose. One,
Smash Ultimate.
No, not Smash Ultimate. I know that disappointed you, but it didn't disappoint me.
No, not it. It's disappointing from a Smash super fan, but anything moderately less than that, and it's good. Real good.
God of War for me, which was my most anticipated game this year, going into this year. By the way,
was it?
Yeah, it was. I was really looking forward to God of War. I bought a PS4.
I know you were high on it when you first played it. I just didn't know you were like looking that much.
That was like when we talked about like what are you looking forward to the most this year? It was like Kingdom Hearts and God of War, like because Kingdom Hearts was still kind of ethereal at that point.
Was it Spider-Man there too?
Spider-Man, I was really looking forward to. Spider-Man was the other one I was going to propose.
Oh, okay.
I guess those kind of both fit into the next category.
That's the whole reason we made it.
As much as we like to shit on the Spider-Man glitch, Nobishin liked the game enough to platinum it.
Yeah, but he's still gonna hater on it next category. But yeah, I just want to like bring those two up as they were both disappointing.
Right, and like I kind of want to go why I think Ni no Kuni should win this one.
Yeah,
please.
So
I want to hear
that. Let's go ahead and let's start with what made Ni no Kuni 1 good in terms of non-specific things to Ni no Kuni 1. The first thing is it had a good story. It wasn't the best story in the world, but as far as a children's story goes, it was very well done. The characters were all solid. I would say it wasn't your stereotypical children's story. As much as the world felt like it, because it was a very playful world, the story was not that. It was much deeper than that. And the second thing is, although the game was essentially a certain version of Pokemon, they kept it fresh by adding slightly new mechanics in midway through parts of the game, and then after said they kept it going even further by how they introduced the enemies to you and through what they did. So through and through, there was just a great game. Yeah,
and like one thing I want to reiterate too, Scott, is like that first game just it had a lot of heart. You know, like
right.
It was just earnest and lovable and genuine. All of its characters felt very earnest. And those, like, I didn't get any of those things from Ni no Kuni 2 either.
Right, because that's like the first thing. It's the first thing you notice is before you get there is that the game confuses you onto who the protagonist is.
Yeah,
and I don't think it was ever intentional.
Yeah,
but yeah, Evan the Child King is the protagonist, not the person you start out as, even though he's extremely prominent through the first half of the game. But then they kind of ham-fist Evan as through, like, right after the second chapter, they ham-fist him as the protagonist. Then the second portion is the only character who kind of has that depth or character still there was the original main protagonist.
Oliver.
Nobody else. It all falls into the children's story trope as far as characters go, and the story kind of goes down that route as well.
It seemed like it.
Right. And this is coming from the same studio of the same franchise that blew us out of the water last time.
Yeah.
Like, we were excited because we liked, what is it? I think his name is Miyazaki movies, because they did the same animation. Right. So we were very excited for Ni no Kuni too, Ni no Kuni, and they delivered on that. Like, very much so.
Yeah.
And when it came to Ni no Kuni 2, they did nothing right.
And it's like
the combat is the same from where you first start the game up until near the end of the game. The only thing they add new to freshen it is a system that is arguably not very fun, which is the war system.
Yeah. And like, even though Studio Ghibli was not involved in Ni no Kuni 2 at all, like, I don't know, like they had, it's questionable like what their involvement with the first game was. So it was more of a like art style thing is what they were going for. But regardless, like, I think there was still a lot of hope that this would be a huge improvement on this on the previous version,
or at the very least, not this much of a disappointment.
Yeah, I think like it's one of those things of like, I was telling Scott it was on PC just so that way we could both be there, and like we both bounced off of it at different points. Like, obviously you played a lot more than I did, Scott, but
I was hoping that it would get better for very long.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun, but it was fun for all of 3 hours. But then you start to see, hey, this combat that you kind of expected to get expanded on, that never happened. The story that was supposed to get fleshed out, that also kind of never really fleshed out. It just kept moving forward.
Yeah.
The only point where it does get fleshed out is essentially a very poorly done twist. Because it's I guess the way to put it is the character that the only particularly well done character starts to get done poorly in both how they're animated and essentially how they're voice acted as well. So they don't exactly match the actions in the scenes that they play.
That's weird.
And as well as they have essentially a full character switch.
Okay. I'm good with it when in this category.
Basically, I forget his name, but he turns villain.
Yeah. The president of the United States?
Yeah, that's what you want to call him.
Yeah. I forget what his actual name is. That's a bummer.
Yeah, same.
It's like Richard or something, I don't know. Yeah, I'm okay with that winning this category. Obviously, like it was a big topic on the podcast this year, is how disappointing Ni no Kuni 2 was. Big disappointment. Gotta love talking about disappointments, y'all. Really bringing up the room. Most disappointing goes to Ni no Kuni 2, with runners-up being Bless Online and Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2. The Hating Ass Hater Award. A highly reviewed game we can acknowledge is objectively good and well made, but we have major fundamental issues with. I don't know if objectively good is how I would phrase this. There are some objectively bad parts about it. I would say like is well received.
Well, here's the thing.
Yes.
If you didn't have objectively good, I'd take Super Smash like right off this list.
Okay.
So, and I think that it kind of fits here
Okay.
because that's definitely what I've done with it.
Okay. I think if you feel strongly enough about it. Right now on the list we have Marvel Spider-Man, God of War, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Celeste, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Destiny 2 Forsaken. I think like I imagine option what you meant with the spirit of this category is like well received games that we still kind of didn't like, for the most part. Option, did you cut out? Or are you still here?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I just want to make sure. That's how like self conscious I am. I'm like, are you still there? So I would say like obviously Spider-Man. I don't know. I think it's probably just like Assassin's Creed makes it difficult, but I would say like Spider-Man, God of War, and Smash Brothers would probably be the ones. Unless an option you feel differently about Spider-Man now than you did before.
No, I still feel that way. It's just I've been so good about just not talking about it.
You have been, but like here's the thing. Like your frustrations are not illegitimate. Like I think the problems that came up when you played that game are totally valid. It's a very similar thing. Like we talked about it in text of like how I was with Dragon Age Inquisition. Of like, man, I really wanted to like this game, but this game is doing everything in its power to make me not like it. I think like also that mentality made the kind of issues that you have with that game stick out a lot more to you.
And that's really just the thing. It's like, because like obviously like for this year in general, I was just trying to stay positive and stuff like that. As far as like everything, and just like, and I know that game is good. I know it's good, and like it's in its own, like I guess you could say, as digestible as a game that is.
Yeah.
I feel it's a good one of that. That's why I probably took the time to platinum it. But because like this game wasn't made in a bubble, and I feel like when you have something like Spider-Man, you compare it to something like anything from the Arkham series, for instance, and like I just feel like it falls almost completely in almost every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And like people are like even like saying like, well, Arkham didn't have a really great story, but like you could probably say that for the first one, maybe, but like the other two, like get the fuck out of my face about that, because honestly, like like as far as like Batman and how his psyche works and like how in depth as far as like with his conflict with the Joker and stuff like that, all that stuff I feel like is like really done and really well made. And not to say that Spider-Man isn't good at that, because I think it is really good, and we acknowledge that as far as like the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I just don't like shitting on something when people like it, basically.
Me either.
But
this is what this category is for.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I made it, because like we have these frustrations. Obviously, me and you more or less have been like a big sticking point as far as this year, as far as like certain games like God of War, like Spider-Man, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or anything else that like we just feel like I'm glad you enjoy this, but like I have these frustrations and I want to express them, but like I think you're more good at that than I am. And like I don't know. This is more like giving you more of an outlet to
Sure.
like to give. I don't know. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to say like at the top, like if I don't like something, that doesn't mean you can't. Like I know this is a very like you have to hear this on the internet every 3 days to remind yourself. If I don't like something, it doesn't mean it's not good. In fact, for you, it might be the best thing there is. Just as much as if I do like something, that doesn't mean it doesn't have problems, but it might mean that those problems are less applicable to me and my tastes. It's,
Furthermore, if you've got a problem with something, that doesn't mean you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like
just because you like something doesn't mean you don't have problems with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point. Like I love Destiny 2 Forsaken, but like I still have problems with it. I love Celeste, but I think some of the level design is really poor in the early parts of that game, right? Like, I like God of War, but I think a lot of what people like about that game is not very good, and I think the better parts of that game that to be fair do get a lot of credit. Like the level design in God of War is very good, the puzzle design is very good, the way that world expands and opens I think is very good. Kratos I think is done quite well, but like I think the story in that game is like really disappointing. I think the fact that game ends with all of this late game twist stuff, like the whole spoilers for God of War, the whole kind of last section of that when you're walking through Jotunheim and it's like, oh, all of this was predicted and Faye was like kind of guiding us along this whole journey and she knew all this would happen and you're Loki. I was like, this sucks. Like all I can think of, like, man, this completely takes me out of the whole ending of this game. Like I was expecting a very quiet moment where like Kratos and Atreus are walking up this mountain and then leave these ashes behind and it's like we're finally saying goodbye, and then like the moment where Kratos finally like puts his arm around Atreus, and then like it ends with them leaving Jotunheim and Kratos explaining to Atreus where his name comes from. Like if it was just that, it would have been perfect. But instead they had to like throw all this bullshit in there that I think is so stupid. And I get that it ties into Norse mythology and all that. But boy, how did it leave such a sour taste in my mouth. Like I was so like, why does any of this have to be in this game? Like there's this whole post-credit scene, quote unquote, where you get to see Thor show up on their doorstep. And I think like that would have been a way better tease. And it just, I thought it just took so much weight out of the journey that they had. I like always feel that, and it's like maybe I'm like the Kratos of video games, of like anytime like it loops around to like all this was predetermined and fate, you know, has already been told, and your journey, the way it ends, is already told. Like I hate that shit. Like I think there's fun to be had with like the Chosen One, the Destiny, blah 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 story, but I just thought it was super lame in God of War. And it ruins the end of that game for me, to be honest. And like all of my it just makes all of the problems I had with Atreus and the way the story is paced and all that like way bigger. Like Freya is like a great character until she's not. Boulder is like an interesting, mysterious villain until he's just a dude, and he sucks. Like, you know, like it's all just super lame, I think.
At the end of the day, aren't we all just a dude?
Yeah, I guess. Thanks, Tony. Keep me grounded. Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, man. I just don't even want to talk about that game anymore, dude. Like, I don't like when people are like, "This is the best Assassin's Creed game." I'm like, no, the one before this was better, and it was like this. Like, it was, I promise you, it was good. Like, but it had like so much less of the trappings of this. But the thing is, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey should be better in every way. It's like they intentionally fucked up that game. Like I can't fathom why that game is the way it is. It just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like there are quests in Assassin's Creed Odyssey where you have to fight these legendary animals, right, to get their pelts for like this kind of like side quest series. And it's pretty cool. Like the animals are supposed to be kind of like a little bit of Greek mythology sprinkled in. There's the first one you do at level 10 is fight a boar, and it is like the hardest fight in that entire game, just because you have to hit that boar, I shit you not, like 130 times, and it's miserable. It's just so miserable. And then he like calls in other boars, and they all just hit you at once, and then you die immediately. And it's like, if you try and do that at level 10, you're fucked. And then if you come back, it always scales 3 levels below your level, because that whole game scales up with you for no good fucking reason. And so like I'm level 33 and fighting this level 30 boar, and he's still just destroying me. And it's like, this is not fun. Like, this sucks. Like, I don't know why you would do this. And I know that's just one of many examples. Yeah, man, like have disliked so many things about the biggest games this year, which is not usual. Like it's one of those things. Like I got super frustrated when people would like vehemently go after Persona 5. Like I think there are problems with that game. What were you gonna say, Tony? Sorry.
No, never mind. I was just agreeing with your sentence.
Like Persona 5, like to me, like is very, very good. It's like peak video game. And I've said in the past, like the format of Persona is basically my favorite format of a video game, period. And like, that's me. And I think that speaks to Tony and Abishin a lot as well. But like people going after that game in like a really aggressive way really turned me off and really upset me in a lot of cases, which is why like I kind of took a step back, and every time people would talk about God of War, I would just stay out of the conversation. It's like, I don't want to do that to you because I've had that done to me and it fucking sucks. Like I do get it. And I don't want people to think that that's necessarily what I'm doing. I want people to understand, like I appreciate criticism, and I respect criticism. I think it can be done and handled in a really professional way. I'm not necessarily doing that here because I kind of want to just get some feelings off my chest. And this is a safe place. But like I see the perspective a little bit more here on the other end of the next year. Where like people like really fucking hated Persona 5, like really like actively hated that game for reasons that are beyond me. But I find myself in a weird position of like the more people talk positively about God of War, the more I'm like sick of hearing it. Like I do get it, I do understand, and I respect and appreciate. This is just me kind of getting what I feel off my chest. I don't necessarily need to be a part of all of those dialogues. I would say, like, to kind of incorporate what you were feeling, Nabashin, and kind of what I'm feeling here, and a little bit what you're feeling too, Scott, with Smash Brothers and whatnot. I don't know, Scott, if you feel as strongly about Smash Brothers as I do about God of War and Assassin's Creed combined. I don't know if you want it to be like the third on this list.
Combined, probably not. Individually, probably. But that's not. This is also not the most disappointing category.
Yeah. I would say, like, with that being said, with hearing your perspective, Scott, I would say like the list should probably be Spider-Man, God of War, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah, let me make my case for Smash.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I guess since I haven't done it before, I have to preface this with this. I think this is a good Smash Brothers game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it delivers where both Brawl and I guess Smash U didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Brawl kind of gave us a really good storyline, and that's really it. And then Smash 4 gave us a fighting game platformer that kind of felt like Smash again, which was nice, but it kind of failed on just about everything else that Smash was, which is all the single player stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of and I understand that as far as playability goes, this plays way better than 4, and even though it's single player isn't as good as Brawl's, it still has all the event modes and all the other fun stuff that come along with it that we're missing kind of in Brawl 2. So it does have a lot going for it. The issue that I have with it is that there's an entire section of the game which was the best addition to the series that was not exactly removed, but essentially gutted.
Home run challenge.
So it's
home run contest. I'm just kidding.
No,
I know.
No, this is your dodging. They went ahead and they made attacking pointless in Brawl. If you were on the offensive, you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is you had on average roughly 2 cross-up options, but in defending you had upwards of 4 to 5. And when you know fighting games, that would essentially be you could toss a coin. You could toss a coin while you were defending, and you could be right in line to attack. Whereas if you somebody going into attack, doing something to progress the game forward, essentially had to roll dice and guess the correct number. When you play the odds that way, that's not a fair game, and the game was stagnant. That was Brawl, and that's why it heralded as the worst game of the series.
Yeah, which is fair, but I still like it.
Right, and it's the problem isn't as severe in 4, and it is even less severe in I guess that particular problem, because it's the cross-up options is less important than the stagnation of the game, because I guess the only character that could go on the offensive in that game reliably was Meta Knight, but because he was so broken in that regard that he was the only character that could do that, he was universally banned. So, right. For kind of remedied the problem, but not really. And in the way that they are putting those base movement mechanics, it's not as you can still get away with. Sorry, you're not punished as much for attacking, so to speak, but being aggressive still has major disadvantages that I don't think it should. Being the first one to attack generally means even if you land, that your opponent is going to land that attack back. You have to be absolute sure that your attack is going to send them flying far away enough that they cannot strike back. And in this game, it is more possible to do that than in others. And the reason why I have such an emphasis on attacks for engagements is because you cannot engage defensively. You cannot go in, try to dodge an incoming attack, and then attack immediately afterwards. They have to start the attack, not you. And the reason this is different is because in Melee, attack baiting was a thing. Going in and acting aggressive, but using fake outs with your dodges allowed you to attack. You cannot do that anymore. And that is doing that and not remedying anything else with the game is what made Brawl so bad. And the reason I say this game is as disappointing as it is because without bringing that back, because they didn't bring it back, this is as good as it gets. And although it's good, there's still a lot to be desired in your engagements because they seem a lot more one note than they should.
Any other notes? Or is that like, would you say that's like your...
That's the crux of the argument, because in this entire thing, it's when you watch the game, it's very hard to tell who's a good player now, because spamming high priority attacks is the way you win.
I appreciate the kind of more technical perspective of things that you always bring, Scott.
And it's not as simple as spam the same attack over and over again, of course. No, of course not. I wouldn't say the game is good if I thought that. But it's...
I feel like
it makes playing the game, knowing what you could do before, less fun when you go into the other one because of how much slower you have to play. Because trying to play any faster is a disadvantage to you. And it's not because of the game's animations, movements, or other things became slower. it's because you have less options available, so it is much easier for the other person to I guess follow up with whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. I appreciate that perspective. I would say like,
and as somebody who like really 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 likes Smash,
yeah,
that's like I honestly thought that they wouldn't have to bring it back. I honestly thought that they could tweak numbers around and essentially do what they did here to make it just as satisfying as it kind of was before. But it's I was wrong in the sense that cutting out what they did removes just kind of too many options. And it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to have kind of made the best Smash game again.
Yeah.
And then not as in like a repeat of before, but this is so close to being the new best Smash game.
And it's not.
And it's not.
Mm-hmm. I get you, dude. I respect that. I would say for this category, I would lock in Spider-Man. I would lock in Smash Brothers for Scott. I would say the third game should be God of War.
Yeah.
Because I find myself more frustrated with the God of War situation because like I can find people to talk about the issues with Assassin's Creed. Like I had a very cathartic conversation with Barrett Courtney when he was over for Extra Life talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. He likes that game a lot, but he agrees with me that Origins was better, and he agrees with me for why. And it was like, all right, okay, I'm not crazy. I think there are problems with God of War that nobody's talking about, and you know, again, I am that Persona 5 guy now. Like I get it. I'm not like I don't think that's a bad game. But like I've said continuously, the further I get away from that game, the less I like it. And that is such a bummer. But like I can't change that that's how I feel about it. So I'd rather put that on this list. Which would make our 3 God of War, Spider-Man, and Smash Brothers. I would say maybe Spider-Man should win. So I can feel your pent-up voice, Nabishin. I can feel it hiding away. You don't necessarily need to unleash it and like get it out there, but
I think you should.
It might help.
Like really, I went off on Smash, which really, even as hard as I went on it, doesn't deserve it over these 2 games, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Simply because it is really good.
Mm-hmm.
But
you have problems with it, and I think that's genuine. That's fair.
if you're not gonna go ham on Spider-Man, I'm gonna give it to God of War.
Where are you at, Namshin? Do you want to just kind of free ball it here, just let it out, or would you rather just move on?
Like, I do feel like Spider-Man should win it, honestly.
Okay.
Free ball it?
That's probably the wrong turn of phrase for this, but
I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, because like, you know, like fundamentally, like, not necessarily like video games are all the same thing, but like video games are kind of like a magic trick, right? Where it's like, it's an illusion in front of you, and like you're basically just hitting buttons to like generally do the same thing. There's some games that like that hide that masking well, and then like you know, like when you're just like playing a game, it's like, oh, this is the best playing game ever, even though it's like exactly the same as something else or something like that, or like something similar, like how like the criticism on like all games are like Call of Duty or something like that because like they all have the same button schemes or something like that. Mm-hmm. So we always have this magic trick in front of video games, but because we're either enthralled with the story or the presentation or like or you just like generally feel that it just feels good in general. So like when you take that away from you, like when you have something in front of your eyes that like distracts you from like the good parts of that game, and you just see nothing but the bad parts, Like you just get like super critical, and like you just like you just don't you don't like anything, like the pacing or how the game is like designed in general. Like you just see all the shortcomings where it's like it wouldn't be that much of a big deal to you, and then like it just becomes so much more of a big deal. Like how combat is boring in Spider-Man, or like how like the stealth sections are just like really really bad in that game. Or just the general stuff, and then it's just like it's kind of like what are you doing, and like it makes you question like like what the video games even are, and it's like it makes you like think of like other stuff, like how I think about like how Arkham Origins got like drugged to the mud about like being like a derivative game of like the other Arkham games or something like that. Like I'm just giving an example of something similar.
Yeah.
And like but you could see like where that game was going, and like how they like try to like take something that you knew and like implement it in like in their own way, because it's like it's not a Rocksteady game, but like they had the blueprints for it, and like they're trying to make it like their own different thing, and for the most part that works. But like with Spider-Man, it feels like it's that, but like not even like as far. It didn't even go as far as like Arkham Origins did, because like when I think about my playthrough of Spider-Man, and like just like the general playthrough of playing that, like it was a game that like I was more or less a basic bitch in that game, where it's just like I only had Web Blossom. I never used the gadgets, because like why use gadgets? Like everyone just like falls over just like punching them, and at the same time they're like super spongy as well. Like it doesn't make sense that, like how like I guess in lore aspects or whatever, like you're trying to make a fun video game or something like that, so they had to be spongy, but you're fucking Spider-Man, so like these group of guys shouldn't be like that much. It shouldn't take that being in combat shouldn't take that long in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big boys in that game shouldn't be anything
boys.
The big boys
hold a candle to Spider-Man's strength.
Yeah.
We all know this.
Yeah.
You're stopping cars like when we're like full gear, like 100 miles an hour. You're stopping cars like nothing, and like you can't like take a punch from a big boy, and like or like your punches do absolutely nothing to them, and it's like it breaks down to like those little minute like nitpicks. Yes, but like I said, when I don't have the illusion in front of me anymore, that's all I see, and so like it's just like a massive just like disappointment when you have to like when your brain is on and you see all the shortcomings,
when like the fourth
is.
wall breaks down, right? Like where it's like you're willing to suspend disbelief, I think, depending on circumstances, but like once that suspension is gone, everything falls apart, right?
Yeah,
it's a tightrope that all video games have to walk, and like I think the faces bullshit, and also like the loading and everything that you kind of encountered in Spider-Man broke that down. I think it's fair to say. Yeah, I think that's totally fair to win. I still feel super shitty about that experience that you had, because like I played it at PAX West, and it was at that weird spot where you and I had talked about like neither of us were quite sold, but we were hopeful. And I texted you. I'm like, I just played it. It's super fun. I think this is going to be a good one. Like, I don't think it's going to be God of War all over again. You're like, okay, I bought it. I downloaded it digitally or whatever. And then everything that happened. And ultimately, we were both pretty kind of disappointed with different aspects of it. Yeah, it's a bummer. Like, I want to say for listeners, Spider-Man wins, 1. But 2, like, if you're listening to this and you're frustrated, like, I get it. I do understand. I empathize. Like, but like I said at the top, right? Like, just because if we have some issues with something doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or that those issues apply to you even at all. And don't draft your tweets. Keep them to yourself. Like, this is us just kind of getting out our frustrations. And I think if you wanted to have your forum to do that, I would hope that you would find it as well. That's all I'll say. I think that's more than fair. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last regular category. We are now in it. Do you guys want to take a break, or do you want to just keep powering through?
Do it, man. We're here.
Going.
All right. Game of the year, top 10. This is a top 10 list. The 10 video games of the year that represent Irrational Passions podcast. which would mean the four of us. So these are, it's going to be a numbered list from 10 to 1, number 1 being our game of the year, with 9 runners up in order. And now I want to say something here, and I'll propose this to you guys, and we can kind of see how you feel about it. We don't necessarily have to do this, et cetera, et cetera. We did something different with the editorial game of the year. We decided to do a top 10 list with no numbers. So we had 1 winner and 9 runners up. Because we talked a lot about game of the year for editorial. It was the first time we were doing stuff, so we didn't have a precedent. We were kind of paving our own way, and we got to do whatever we wanted. Initially, I just wanted to do a top 10 list with no winner, just 10 games of the year pretty much. But everyone, for the most part, felt strong enough about having a game of the year that we decided to do it. How would you guys feel about a top 10 list that's not numbered?
I want it numbered.
Well, all right then. Sounds like we've been put in our place, Alex.
That's totally fair.
I especially this year in general. I feel like I want to see where we all feel, where everything is at, because not to get too far into it. Let me finish. Not to get too far into it, but with Dragon Ball Fighters, that's my game of the year. I don't think it's number 1 for us. So I want to see where this all lands. I'm just very generally curious
of games, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm just curious for the group of us where everything lands.
Can we do a midway? Can we do a midway instead of doing a complete split number? We argue which one gets into the top half of the list and which one's the bottom half of the list.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Numbered 6 through 10, unnumbered 5 through 1.
I would say still numbered, but we can kind of break it up a little bit more. I just wanted to propose it. Where I come from with that option, I think your kind of criticism is fair. Is it helped that on the editorial side, it was the first time we're doing something like this, and we've obviously done this for 8 years now. My hope with that is just to be more inclusive, right? It's not to say any one of these games is better or worse than another. It's not to argue over the minutia of where things fall on the list. It is to say this is the one we kind of decided to represent us, but these other games are all phenomenal, and we want you to check out all of them in no particular order. Again, that was just the perspective that I brought for that.
But also, to be fair, I think we've done this long enough that
I don't
we
think
can
it's
at least
a big thing.
Yeah, and we can at least empathize for where we feel or how strongly someone feels about something that is okay, it's not that big of a deal if it's 1 spot over or 1 spot under.
Yeah. I think we're big boys. This is not our first rodeo,
right? But at the same time, if there were a year to do that, for this show, I think that would be this year, because as you said, we're big boys. We know, and most of the audience knows, that we can put these things in the fucking list.
But what you're saying, Namashin, of where we all what Namashin is saying about where we all stand on a thing, I think is also fair. I mean, the only problem here is there are going to be games on the list that Scott, you and Tony just don't care about because of the amount of games that you guys both consumed that were new to this year. But I also think that's okay. I think we can cross that bridge.
I'm pretty good at absorbing explanations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's. My caveat is that you have to provide them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's get into it and we'll field out and we'll aim for a numbered 10 list, and if it becomes a problem, we'll open the conversation again. How's that sound?
For sure.
All right.
And I appreciate Scott went through and bumped out all of our personal games of the year. Typically, I know this is a little unorthodox for some other game of the year places, but I just don't think there's any world where the game we feel the strongest about isn't in some way going to be on the top 10 list for the podcast. So
of this and of the years, this would be the year where that could have been the case, but at the same time, even if we didn't do this, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Taking a look at the games that are on the top.
Yeah. So right now, the list that we were going to whittle down, Dragon Ball Fighters, Monster Hunter World, Celeste, God of War, Detroit Become Human, Moonlighter, Into the Breach, The Messenger, Marvel Spider-Man, Dragon Quest XI, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Soul Calibur 6, Wizard of Legend, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Tetris Effect, Dead Cells, Slay the Spire, Sea of Thieves, and Destiny 2 Forsaken. Is there anything missing?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
We probably just
Hills last year.
we can take off Destiny 2 Forsaken. I don't necessarily think we need to put an expansion on the list.
That's fair.
It's just that's a weird precedent, I think. I think we can take God of War off. Let's just do a quick, easy group cut collectively. Swan song God of War into the night. So right now, Dragon Ball Fighters.
Goodbye, boy.
Into the Breach, Tetris Effect, and Dead Cells are all bumped out. Those are all of our personal games of the year. Those are going to be on the list one way or another. Do we want to do like the round robin kind of cut or highlight one?
I think so.
Let's do highlight as opposed to cut one because I feel
Cut's more aggressive though, and it's more fun.
It is more fun, but I feel like just one round of highlights is a little bit more positive.
Sure.
And I like the good vibes. Nobishin, you. What did you say, Scott?
Tony starts.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're very quiet.
Sorry, Tony starts.
Yeah, Tony, why don't you start us off?
Okay, I'll highlight Sea of Thieves.
Okay.
That game is real.
Okay, cool. Scott, what about you? What do you want to highlight?
I'm highlighting Wizard of Legend.
Okay.
God, I want to play that game.
It seems cool. I would.
It plays really well.
Yeah, I want to play it. The thing is, I want to play it with you guys. I feel like it'd be fun.
That could technically happen. It might be a little difficult if we don't get it on the Switch.
Yeah. Nobishin.
Don't worry, I'm getting a Switch at some point for Animal Crossing. So
It's true. We in there. We out here. Nobishin.
I want to highlight Dragon Quest XI.
All right. Let's see. It's so weird Hollow Knight not being on this list. I know it can't be, but like, it's such a bummer. I'm trying to, I'm thinking for the rest of us, right? I'm not necessarily thinking for myself here. Let's just do Monster Hunter World.
No complaints here.
Yeah, dude. I got you, Tony. So that brings us up to 8. I think these 8 are probably going to be on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily...
Can I suggest 2 more and we'll have that be the list?
Let's see. What are the 2?
Red Dead Redemption 2 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
That would mean no Call of Duty, no Messenger, no Valkyria, no Pokemon, no Detroit. Is everyone okay with that?
Fine with me.
What are the highlights?
The other 2 would be Red Dead 2 and Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay with that. You guys want to go through here and... So that means we are cutting, just for audio listeners that are kind of listening along. We're cutting Celeste. We are cutting Detroit. We are cutting Moonlighter. We are cutting The Messenger, Marvel Spider-Man, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Soul Calibur 6, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and Slay the Spire. Those are all gone.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Although
And we're done.
Out, I'm not entirely sure you might have won a fought for Sea of Thieves so hard on this one.
Well, I didn't. We haven't really fought for anything yet.
Well, I'm just saying, like you highlighted it. Now it's in the top 10. And
It's
now
in the top
not
10.
It is now definitely not appearing in what's it called?
Oh, whoops.
Best previous year game of 2019.
I think it could still.
No.
I'm so confused what you're even talking about.
Like, listen, there's only two people that are allowed to put it on that list, and that's me and Nabashin.
Damn, dude. Well,
I still don't know what you're talking about.
that Sea of Thieves being on our top 10 list for the year would disqualify it from being a best previous year game
next year.
It depends. That depends on a lot of things.
I feel like it more qualifies it than disqualifies it. I don't understand.
It depends on like
I mean,
updates.
Best previous year. What you are telling us that you got to this game, but essentially in 2018 at the heart, because that disqualifies the game from being on that list.
You know what? It's a
my definition of how that list works.
This is an argument that we can have in January of 2020.
Yeah.
Remember this conversation, Scott.
Yeah.
This isn't a conversation. I'm putting game of the year if this is not the case.
Scott's out.
I'm just gonna agree with you because I don't think I care.
All right, that's fair. And it's like the little telltale thing. This is Scott will remember this in the upper left corner. All right, so in no particular order, our top 10 games of the year are Dragon Ball FighterZ, Monster Hunter World, Into the Breach, Dragon Quest XI, Red Dead 2, Wizard of Legend, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Tetris Effect, Dead Cells, Sea of Thieves. What wins? See, wouldn't it be so much?
What wins?
Wouldn't it be so much nicer if all
one winner with 9 runners up?
All we had to decide at this point was just one winner. Let's so
pretty easy to pick that one.
I would say like the top half of the list would probably be all of our personal games of the year. Does that sound fair?
Like I would put honestly like for my for Dragon Ball FighterZ, I would probably put it at number 5.
Okay.
And I say that because like there are shortcomings in that game that I knowingly ignore because I love that game so much and I feel it's really good. But I feel confident that it should at least be number 5.
Okay, we can put that in there for now. I think that's fine. I'm trying to like keep this relatively organized. Yeah. I'm trying to think here. It's been so long since we did this and I'm trying to remember how to do this. Okay, what's a good number? I feel like Sea of Thieves is a good number 10.
I'm okay with it. It's really just me that's, really got in.
But like I think it's cool that it's on this list.
For sure. Number 9, I would suggest Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Scott, what you got?
I'd like to slide into the breach at number 3.
Ooh, a high contender. I don't know. I think that's okay for now.
Yeah, I'm okay with putting it up there, and then we revisit.
Yeah. I would say like I'm not ready to lock that into number 3, but I'm okay with that for now.
I'd like to suggest having both Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 9 and Dragon Quest 9. Dragon Quest 11 number 8. No one's really played Red Dead except Alex, and like there's a good appreciation for it. Actually, I want to swap those.
Okay, Red Dead at 8 and Dragon Quest 11 at 9.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
That's like, I leave that to kind of your discretion if you feel like that's a good representation of that game on this list.
Yes. Red Dead is a very phenomenal game. Though problematic, and Dragon Quest is a phenomenal game. I just haven't beaten it yet.
Okay. Tony, what about you? Do you got a...
I think we should take Monster Hunter World, put that at number 2 for the moment.
Hell no.
What if we put it at number 1?
Yeah, I'm down with that too, bro.
I'm actually okay with that. So.
I'm totally okay with that. Y'all know this has been my like secret rope-a-dope plan this whole fucking year, dude, is getting Monster Hunter World at number 1.
All right, can I amend my statement?
Yeah.
What if we took Tetris Effect and put it at number 2?
I mean, I'm very okay with that.
I love Tetris Effect.
Where are you at, Scott?
I mean, like, if this list ends up being with Smash Bros. And Dead Cells, like, kind of like right next to each other at 6 and 7, that's fine,
Okay.
I guess.
And that would
He guesses. He doesn't know.
That would put Wizard of Legend at 4.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. I'm not familiar with Wizard of Legends, but like you're very passionate about the game, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, let's we'll put them there, and then we'll see how we feel.
I dare say that after I was fairly experienced in both of these games, the combined this was, I want to say, close to 18 hours of extra life.
Yeah, it's true. To be fair,
I could have finished, started, or done just about anything else.
To be
But
fair,
I chose to go back to those 2 games.
like, Scott, Mike, and I are the Extra Life survivors, right? So, and Tony in my heart, wherever he is. So, like, we,
Like, it was the full 24 hours.
It was,
I
yeah.
talking about.
We were getting weird at the end. It was very good. It was very fun. So the list as it stands right now, and we can make some adjustments here. Number 1, Monster Hunter World. Number 2, Tetris Effect. Number 3, Into the Breach. Number 4, Wizard of Legend. Number 5, Dragon Ball FighterZ. Number 6, Dead Cells. Number 7, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 8, Red Dead 2. Number 9, Dragon Quest 11. Number 10, Sea of Thieves. Boy, this was a weird year for video games.
I mean, I would say the bottom half of the list makes a whole lot of sense.
The only thing I was going to say,
I also have a slight suggestion, if it's okay, if it'll pass.
My one suggestion would be swapping Dragon Ball and Dead Cells.
My suggestion would have been swapping Dragon Ball and Wizard of Legend.
Well, you see, what we're not doing is
I'm
Wizard of
asking.
Legend at 6.
What about Wizard of Legend at 5 and Dragon Ball at 4?
That one, I guess I'm a little more okay with, because as much as the other guys are anticipating playing more Wizard of Legend, that is very much so just a me thing. It wasn't my game of the year. But like, Wizard of Legend being any further from Into the Breach on this list is insane.
Okay.
I don't think there's any world where Dragon Ball FighterZ is above of Into the Breach. In my eyes.
Okay. I like that swap. Let's do that. There's a lot of Google Doc happening for audio listeners right now. Okay. Monster Hunter World, Tetris Effect, Into the Breach, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Wizard of Legend, Dead Cells, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Red Dead 2, Dragon Quest 11, Sea of Thieves.
I like it.
I like it. Tony, you like it?
I'm in.
Scott, you like it?
There wasn't enough yelling this year, so hold on.
Okay.
We haven't filled our anger quota yet.
What the fuck?
Is this how adults come to conclusions?
Wait, can someone say that they had expectations for Fallout 76 and then I yell at them? That's on you, man. And then Tony can yell, I think Cuphead should be higher.
Fuck no. I would never be the one to champion that.
And then Scott can he can what was the Austin Walker move, pull a invisible ink. I'll die before this gets off this list.
Yeah, I'll fucking die.
No, I think this is good. Let's lock it in.
Let's lock it in.
Let's lock it in. Congratulations, Monster Hunter World. I had a plan for you all along.
We didn't talk about you in any of these categories, but
Because we did not bear any explanation. Game is amazing.
I guess that's not true. Handro-chan got a lot of representation.
Yeah. Monster Hunter World is like...
He's garbage.
There's the hate.
There's the hate.
Scott's trash waifu of the year.
Monster Hunter World is an achievement in how, like, one, it's Capcom's best-selling video game ever, which is crazy that it's a Monster Hunter game. Two, it's like the most accessible Monster Hunter. It's a game that even clicked with me after 40 plus hours of like trying to get it to click. I finally get it. Like, I feel like I get Monster Hunter where I didn't before, on like a mechanical level, like a feel level.
Yeah, and I feel personally that like that is the game I will eventually get into myself. But I have to do it my own way. I can't play with other people.
I played most of that game single player. So,
but like when I'm ready to jump into that game and like play it by myself, because I have the game obviously, but like because I love that game as far as like the way it looks, not and then something that I wish I could get into. So like when I had the time to actually do it, I think I'm gonna really like fall in love with it, honestly.
Hell yeah.
And there's a big expansion coming out in September. So like we're going into 2019 like with a lot of optimism about Monster Hunter World. The updates that they did, like the Behemoth crossover with Final Fantasy 14 they did was really cool. I think that game is really rad and is a testament to the lineage of that franchise, and it's cool to see like such an old traditional Japanese franchise like come in a new way this year. Tetris Effect is awesome also. Cool. That's it. Let's do a quick recap for today. Best new game goes to Into the Breach, with runners-up being Wizard of Legend and Dead Cells. Best visuals goes to Red Dead 2, with runners-up being Dragon Ball FighterZ and Sea of Thieves. The most disappointing goes to Ni no Kuni 2, with Revenant Kingdom, with runners-up being Bless Online and Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2. Boy, that name is a mouthful. Hating Ass Hater award goes to Marvel's Spider-Man, with runners-up being God of War and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And our game of the year for 2018 is Monster Hunter World, with the 9 runners-up in order being Tetris Effect, Into the Breach, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Wizard of Legend, Dead Cells, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Red Dead 2, Dragon Quest XI, and Sea of Thieves. Thank you, video game makers, for making awesome video games. Even in a year where we thought maybe video games weren't as cool, I think there were still some really cool video games.
Whatever, man. Indie games held it up.
Yeah, it's true. Indie games held it up, pulled the weight. Into the Breach, Dead Cells, Moonlighter, The Messenger, some awesome independent games. We got to see Arc System Works put out their biggest game ever. A company that's been making rad video games for a long time is finally in the spotlight in a way that they totally deserve. We got to see Sonic Fox be the #1 esports player ever, and he's just a delightful human. And we got to see a good, accessible Monster Hunter and a dope, trippy version of Tetris. I think 2018, at the end of the day, wasn't all that bad for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everyone, so much for listening to our Game of the Year deliberations. I hope that you had a good time. I hope that some of the categories that were more us getting stuff off our chest, you empathized with a little bit. You gave us the benefit of the doubt. You understood where we were coming from. And I hope you had fun listening, and I hope you had fun guessing along of what we were going to pick for what category. I think, let me look at my calendar here. I'm hopeful that this might go out the week of the 14th of January, although there's a possibility it won't go out until the week of the 21st of January, which means we will get back on our regular recording schedule on January 26th or January 19th, one of the two. We will get back to recording on Saturdays, talking about video games. Having guests on is a big thing I'm trying to get going for the new year. And stay tuned. We got plenty of Kingdom Hearts to talk about. The year is young, and we got games coming out right around the corner. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Noption, for joining me. As always, this has been delightful and a ton of fun. You guys are the best. Just let it
Winky face.
Winky face. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Play some video games. Have a good time. Don't listen to other people. We're just 4 dudes. Blah, blah, blah. The good stuff. I've been your host, Alex O'Neill. Play your game. Stay irrational. We'll talk to you all next week.